Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. So I wanted to do a quick video, hopefully pretty quick, on my impressions on what I've seen thus far about the Nintendo Switch. I really wasn't sure if anyone wanted to see my opinions on this. Sometimes I will kind of just ramble on about thoughts on my channel. For the most part, that's kind of what this channel has been, a sort of catch-all with some reviews and overviews and things. But my good buddy Keithy Huntington, check out his channel, asked me on Facebook today, well, what do you think? I thought you were doing a video. Where's your video? So I decided to do one. So I've watched quite a few videos on it. I didn't watch the actual release or the trailer and the treehouse and all that presentation they did in Japan and the presentation they did in New York City. I didn't watch all that. I just went back and watched like kind of overviews of each of them. Um, a great video I saw on it, which I thought was the most down to the nitty gritty, but also made some very good points, was the Digital Foundry video. So check them out. They're a very big YouTuber and website. They tend to get a little more into specs in general and how things run and what they think. And they're usually pretty on point in terms of their calculations or what they think. So some of my stuff is going to be in line with what they said because I thought they were very eloquent in how they put it. Um, so the Switch is just to give you a quick overview in case you didn't see or hear, it's a handheld 720p handheld console, that then clicks into a dock and you remove the um, side of the controllers and they click into something else and you can then play it on your TV from the dock. Um, the handheld 720, once you dock it onto your TV, it can be 720 or 1080 depending on the game, I would assume. I would also guess that the frame rates are going to differ depending on the game and depending on um, what they can pull from this hardware. The hardware, power wise, is still under the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but better than the Wii U. Some people are saying it's sort of close to the Wii U in terms of what it looks like. I thought the Wii U always looked really nice. So, I mean, in terms of um, high def and stuff, I don't see a huge difference between 720 and 1080 personally, but I also sit about 10 feet away from my television, and I do not have a 4K television. But for people that have invested in 4K TVs, which have seemed to kind of dropped in price as of late, I'm not sure that this system is for them. um, where does this really put them in the 4K mold? If you have a 1080p console, you're not going to probably buy a 4K TV where the Xbox One S currently does certain 4K content. The PS4 Pro up converts to certain 4K content, and then when the Xbox One Scorpio comes out next year, I think that's supposed to be 4K native. So why is the Switch so far behind? And I guess the reason for that would be because they focused on the handheld, and then the dock is sort of I don't want to say an afterthought because it definitely wasn't, but sort of an add-on. It reminds me of the Neo Geo X, which I love, where you can play it handheld. It's pretty much just an Android device, and then you dock it on like a dock and play it on your television. I just don't know where they were going with that. If it's not powerful enough to do 4K, which I think people are kind of jumping ahead with that anyway. I think the PlayStation Pro, to go off on a tangent, the PlayStation Pro isn't really strong enough to do 4K. It only does 4K like up converting, like sort of. Um, it's not native. So I think they should focus on 1080, 60 frames per second in general. So that's what this is, I guess, trying to lean more towards. But according to Digital Foundry, a lot of the games are 720 with 30 frames or 1080 with 30 frames. So I guess they're just trying to go for stability right now, and these are not complete builds also. It definitely, the idea reminds me of the Wii U to an extent in terms of, you have this handheld, you also can play it on the TV, but this one, instead of just playing in your room or maybe stepping out, to the side, you can take this out, play your game, continue where you left off, bring it back and dock it and play on the TV. So it's an interesting concept. Me personally, I don't play handhelds much. Um, for a while, I was very big into the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I have one. I love it. I have a great collection. The Wonder Swan is pretty cool. I have a Wonder Swan Crystal, but that's more of a collecting thing than it is a playing thing. And I had a Vita with a very big library, and I really loved it. But again, I didn't play outside enough to warrant keeping it, and I knew the games weren't that were coming out weren't completely my speed on the Vita. But I thought the Vita was an awesome, awesome handheld. So that being said, this isn't catering towards me because I'm not a handheld guy really. I like to come home and sit on the couch and play games. I'm not like on a bus or a train, public transportation wise. My ride to work is 45 minutes roughly each way. I obviously can't play while I'm driving. Um, I'm not going to sit on my couch playing it. I mean, the Wii U gives me the option to play certain games on my couch while Beth might be playing an Xbox game or watching television. So that's cool, but it's not always what I want to do. Usually I want to play on my television on a big screen. um, so that was one thing I did want to get across. Um, in terms of the controller, they're called Joy-Cons, and they're like little things that dock into the screen, which then as I said previously, you can remove and then dock into this other thing and use just as a controller. You can also split them up and play two-player with them, but they look very, very small. So where the Xbox controller, the original Xbox controller was too big and they made it smaller and it was perfect, these look too small in general for two players. They also have like this HD rumble support where things change depending on how the controllers rumble, and you can move them around, and they have some kind of motion controls. I'm really not into motion controls at all, so again, they're not playing up to me on that. Um, they just look really small and uncomfortable, and that's sad to me because it's an interesting idea. I like the whole docking concept, even though I'm not a handheld gamer. But once you start splitting them up and making it two-player, it looks just really small. There's no D-pad, which to me was kind of shocking because I'm more in favor of a D-pad, especially with platformers and fighting games, at least 2D platformers, of course. So that was kind of strange. Trying to think I'm not into motion controls and moving around, so that's also not my bag. Um, the controllers are pricey. If you want a set of Joy-Cons, they're $80, I believe. And then if you want a Pro controller, which looks a lot like the Xbox One controller or the old Wii U Pro controller, it's $70. And it's more of a conventional way to play the system, which I think is probably what most people are going to want to go for. But the system with the two Joy-Cons is $300, no pack-in games. The games range, I think, between $50 and $60. Now, if you want a second set of Joy-Cons, that's another $80. If you want a Pro controller, that's another $70. So you are, even though the system isn't extremely expensive, you are spending a lot on the rest of the hardware. And some of the games, as Digital Foundry had mentioned, not that I want to keep referencing them, some of the games look almost like, indie games, or some of them are indie games. So to charge full price for what is essentially like indie games, $60 for a game that should be like 20, it may rub people wrong. The the initial launch library is sort of lacking, kind of small, which sort of again harks back to the Wii U. The launch library for the year doesn't have much that I'm really looking forward to. I Am Setsuna is supposed to come out. I'm not a huge RPG guy anymore, but I do play them from time to time just because I lack time. That was like a throwback RPG that came out digitally, I believe on the PlayStation and the PC, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm guessing that's getting a physical release on the Switch. The Switch is going to use proprietary SD cards, which I like. The system only has 32 gigs of RAM, which seems very small. You would have expected them to at least double what was in the Wii U, but I would guess that the cards, just like the Vita, the cards are where most of your, where your game data is. So unless you're doing patches or updates or save data, you're mostly leaning on the cards for that. But I still think they should have made it bigger. I still think it should have been like 256 gigs or something. They should have really upped the space. I think they're still behind the times in that. They had mentioned that the online service will be free for the first few months, and then they will do a paid online service. So they're joining the ranks of Sony and Microsoft with the Xbox Live and the PlayStation Plus. Nintendo's always been really behind the times in terms of the internet. That was one of the reasons I stopped buying Nintendo consoles up until the Wii U, because with my GameCube, there was like a few games that supported it. The broadband adapter was expensive, and they just weren't really up to snuff the way the Xbox original was with, the voice chat and being able to group up with people and stuff. So I stopped gearing myself towards Nintendo consoles, and then they stopped really getting third-party support after that. It's going to be tough to warrant paying another online subscription fee for a console that's never fully developed its online games. There are some really great, fun online Wii U games, but it's still not up to snuff. So maybe the extra money they are getting for online will help them develop their online services. There's a lot of what ifs with this, in terms of the online services, the price points with the controllers, where they stand with the 720 and 1080 compared to a 4K. Third-party support is worrisome. It seems very similar to like a Wii U repeat right now. As I said, if you're not a handheld gamer, you will most likely not fully be into this. Um, I could see myself playing on the couch and then docking it later on, but it's not going to be my first like to go to thing in terms of like bringing it outside and stuff. And I'm completely not sold ever. I've never liked motion support and stuff like that. So m motion controls just do not do it for me. So I'm sad that they're doing that again. I was hoping after them focusing on, okay, the Wii U didn't get third-party support. The Wii U had some sort of gimmicks that didn't pan out. They would have went away from all that and said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to really get a lot of third-party support. We're going to do our first-party stuff out of the gate that everyone's going to love. Zelda, Mario, F-Zero, Metroid, all the big names out of the gate, and they didn't. The only game out of the gate that's first party that's big is Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is a Wii U game ported to the Switch. So it's going to look better, going to have probably more frames or a higher definition, but it's still a Wii U game essentially. So, and Mario is way off. Mario's, I think, December of 2017. So not way off, but it's not out of the gate. Out of the gate, they should have bashed in people's faces with first party titles. They should have had a really big bunch of third party titles. I know the guy Suda51 who did No More Heroes said that he's doing something. I've never played his games, but they've always looked interesting to me. They're doing Skyrim. I don't know why. That reminds me of the way Wii U got Batman and Mass Effect and Deus Ex with, maybe a better version or DLC attached or little different modes attached, different maps and things. It's interesting, but if you played it a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago, why would you buy this again just to play Skyrim? It doesn't make sense to me. Skyrim was great then, and it still is, but I don't see people now buying it again to play on the Switch. They've made some very strange calls with this, and I'm almost shocked because of what they failed at in terms of the Wii U, which I love. I love my Wii U. I'm having a great time with it. As I said, I do play a little bit on the couch. I do play mainly on the screen. I play a lot of co-op with Beth, Hyrule Warriors, a lot of platformers. So I don't know. I'm holding off. My end result is I'm holding off right now until probably 2018, until I see where they are in terms of third party, um, where they are in terms of really utilizing the hardware, and just making sure this isn't a repeat of the Wii U in terms of one game every couple months or one game a month. You know, I I really love my Xbox One. The PlayStation 4 is very similar to it. The Nintendo in the last few years has always been very different. They've always said we're different. We kind of cater towards a younger audience. We also have these first party titles that no one else will have, and they're right. But they also have to just up their game a bit. So I'm hoping the online support really kicks it up a notch. I'm hoping their third party support comes in, but again, it's a lot of maybes, and that's what's worrisome about the system. I'm not completely um, saying I'm not getting one, but I'm definitely not getting one. I don't think in 2017. So these are my thoughts. I'm not bashing the system. There was just a lot of weird choices I felt, and a lot of really still kind of going on in my mind. Um, yeah, so it looks cool. I think the hardware looks great. Um, Again, if you have a 4K TV, I don't know where that leaves you in terms of wanting one of these. So tell me, guys, what you think in the comments about the Switch presentations. Are you getting one out of the gate? Are you like me and you're kind of hesitant and you're waiting? Thank you, Keithy, for mentioning it to me. And thanks, guys, for watching. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.